Hello. Welcome to Reading Time. My name's Time, and this week we're reading Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Let's get to reading. Lord of the Flies by William Golding is a novel about a group of boys who are on a plane prior to a war and end up crash landing on an uninhabited island. They discover that only the boys have survived. There are no adults present on the island, and they have to find a way to survive and to hopefully alert someone that they are there. I'm giving this book a 4 out of 5 star rating. I actually thought that it was a very good book, which did surprise me a little bit as I read this previously in high school. It was one of the required readings during my freshman year. And I think just that association with it being a required read, not something that I was reading for my own choice, made it something that I did not enjoy as much. There is quite a lot of content to be aware of for this book, as this is more of a young adult book than a children's book. First off, there is quite a bit of violence in this book. While these boys are on the island, they are there for quite a while. There is a time jump at some point during this book that does not have a specific amount of time listed. All we know is that the boys' hair grows really long, all of their school uniforms are in virtual tatters, and they are sunburned or very tanned. So it can be assumed that they have been there for quite some time. As their amount of time on the island increases and the level of fear that all of the boys are experiencing increases, there is more and more violence that happens on the island, both intentionally and unintentionally. One of the biggest pieces of violence in this book are that there are 2 specific character deaths detailed in the book. One character is beaten to death by the other boys, and the other one is crushed to death by a giant rock. Additionally, there is one specific character in the book who seems to derive pleasure from other people's pain, and he is often seen hurting the younger boys or hurting the animals on the island. And the boys do hunt the pigs on the island multiple times, and they do have a chant that goes along with it about spilling the pig's blood and guts and all of that hunting stuff. Another piece of content to be aware of is that there is nudity throughout the book. Nothing is specifically described beyond that they have taken off their clothes or that they are just wearing a belt and clay on their face, stuff like that. But the boys do spend most of the book either fully nude or partially nude. And another thing to keep aware of content-wise is that this book can be psychologically disturbing for the fact that the boys do kill each other, and there is a devolvement of their sanity, and that can definitely be disturbing at times. With all of this content, I would not recommend this book for anyone below 9th grade. This book is generally taught as required reading in 9th or 10th grade. Not all schools require it, but a lot of schools do have it on their list. Now, because this book is required reading for a lot of schools, it is very well analyzed and has been very well analyzed since it was first written. One of the main ways that I have seen this book analyzed is that this book shows that man at its basis form is violent and uncivilized. And without society, we would go to that base nature. And while I can see why someone would think this from this book, seeing as how the boys create their own society, and it is once their society starts literally cracking and breaking apart that all of this mayhem happens. Ultimately, I don't think that this is the best way to look at this book. Lord of the Flies was published in 1954, just about 9 years after the end of World War II. So the idea of violence and man's ability to destroy and our capacity for destruction was something that would have been on the minds of a lot of people. So I think it's natural to assume that this book is just that, an examination of how even the most innocent, of how children can show this amount of destruction. And I do think that is part of the book, absolutely. But I think one important thing to keep in mind with this book is the idea of fear. Fear is a central idea to this book. Throughout the book, there is a mysterious beast on the island that the boys are afraid of. And this beast takes many forms, but ultimately, the reader knows that the beast is not real. There is not actually a mysterious creature on the island attacking all of the boys. One of the boys does have enough insight to suggest that maybe the beast is just them. And I would go one step further and just say that the beast is fear itself. Most of the bad things that happen in this book are a result of fear. Fear of not being included, fear of being seen as weak, literal fear of the dark, fear of the unknown, fear of not being found. Really, there's a lot in this book. There's a lot of symbolism, there's a lot of ideas that can be examined and talked about. But as this is one that is talked about a lot in depth, I'm not going to go too much more into it. This week's poster square did surprise me a little bit. Generally, these squares are representatives of different characters or symbols in the book. And as such, I was expecting a little island image or maybe a conch shell, as that is a very big symbol in the book. I was not prepared for the square to be a little pig head on a stick, because while that is a very central symbol in the book, it's what the book is named after, Lord of the Flies, I just was not expecting a cute, scared-looking pig head on a stick. So that is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. If you are interested in continuing to follow along with this reading adventure, please feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow me on social media on either Facebook or Instagram for updates about what I am reading. What did you think of Lord of the Flies if you have read it? Do you have any reading suggestions? Please let me know if you do. And as always, I hope that you have a marvelous week and a wonderful read.